we're staying in this nice resort in Sedona. They got a guarded gate, and I pay attention to that kind of stuff because of my background. And a lot of the guys knew me that worked in there from my podcast and wanted to talk. Well, we were there for a week. The last day I walk through, and it's this old man in there. And he's wanted to talk to me. Me and my wife had gone up to a hike because I was like, I got to get the hell out of here. Maybe a hike will make me feel better. Walk back down, and this guy starts trying to talk to me. It's dark at this point. I had already kind of surrendered, like I'm done. I didn't feel good, but I had kind of made my decision, like I'm not doing this anymore. And I'm kind of looking at him over the shoulder, like I'm not in the mood to like strike up a conversation. But my wife starts talking to him, and I'm like, shit, I just want to go to my room. So I turn around, and this guy read my mind from front to back. And I mean, like, I've never had that happen. It wasn't, I mean, it was descriptive. It scared the shit out of me because I was like, how are you in my head? And he started rattling off all these thoughts that I was having on that entire hike. And he's like, this stuff that's going on in China, that's not your fight anymore. And this stuff that's going on with the kids, that's not your fight either. And this stuff that's going on with the trans community, that's not your fight. And I had shut down. I was like, well, how is this guy in my head right now? So freaked me out. We're walking back to our bungalow. We were in a place where it was like kind of like a duplex. And we're on one side, somebody else on another side. When we got to Sedona, my best friend that I was referring to earlier, his name's Gabe. He died of a heroin overdose later on. But Gabe was a SEAL. Gabe was a pro hockey player. Gabe was a fighter. We was into MMA. Gabe was at the agency with me. And no matter where Gabe was always known as a protector. Like, no matter what unit he was in, no matter who he was with, could be the manliest of all men. Like, everybody knows Gabe has got you. And he was my best friend. Well, we get there and we see this guy and he looks identical. He could be Gabe's identical twin. I mean, you could see differences, but same brow line, same jaw line, same build, same walk, same 3-day shadow, same everything. Muscular. And me and my wife are both like, man, that looks exactly like Gabe. And everywhere we would go, this guy was at. If we were at the pool, this guy was at the pool. If we were going on a hike, this guy was coming back from a hike. If we were out in town getting dinner, he was out in town getting dinner. And we had always thought it was weird because I'd kind of had a breakdown on the plane to Sedona. And so I was in a vulnerable spot. My wife knew it. I was in a vulnerable spot. I knew it. I was with my buddy Dave, and he knew it. And it was just odd that Gabe, who's always known as a protector, is like this guy that looks identical to him is everywhere. Yep. Well, it turns out right from that gate, we walked to our bungalow, and it turns out this guy and his family is staying right across the thing from us. And we hadn't seen him all week. And I'm like, that was weird. And on the way back, I'm telling Katie, I'm like, holy shit. Like, I think that was God that was reading my mind. And yeah. She's like, yeah, Shawn, that was God. And I'm like, I can't believe this. Like, how is this happening? And she's like, Shawn, God's always been around you. You just don't make time for him. And I knew that to be true. So we get to the bungalow, Gabe staying across the way, or the look-alike, whatever you want to call it. We find out he's staying right across. This is all within like 10, 15 minutes. Then we go in, and I'm crying, and I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. And right before we went to Sedona, a good friend of mine, his name was Dan Cirillo, died. He was kind of he was a SEAL and a businessman, and he lived in Franklin. And I don't have a lot of people that I can relate to where I live now. in Franklin. And Dan is one of those guys that he's very successful. He owned a couple of hospitals. He owned a big security business. And he's like one of the few people that I can sit down with and talk business and talk friends. And he doesn't need anything from me, and I don't need anything from him. And those relationships get hard to come by. And so we hit it off really fast. And then he died on a hunting trip with his son, had a heart attack.
Oh, God.
But hey, I mean, that if there's a way to go, good on him. But anyways, his daughter, who I had never met, I'm having this breakdown in the hotel. And his daughter, I heard my phone go off while I was talking to Katie. And as soon as we kind of finished what we were talking about what was going on, I checked my phone, and it's from his daughter. and it's this text. I'd never even met her before. And she says, she must have got my number from her dad's phone. And she said, "Hey, Shawn, this is Taylor, Dan's daughter. And I just walked into my dad's gun room for the first time since he had passed away. And he grabbed me by the arm and told me that I needed to contact you because you knew a side of him that nobody else knew. And that he wanted me to tell you that he loves you just the way that you are, and that you're doing exactly what you should be doing." And then I'm trying not to lose it right now, but so that was like the third thing, all within, like I said, 10, 15 minutes. And I was like, holy shit, like there's no denying this one. And,
exactly.
A
low brick wall.
Yeah. And so, I grew up Catholic and never really took church seriously. I never did. And then when I left home, I never really went back and had kind of lost faith. And I'm not saying I wasn't a believer. I just didn't really care, and I didn't think about it. And I had definitely no time for God. And so I took that as that was like a slap in the face. And I decided I needed to get serious about faith and at least look into it. And so I started looking into it, and it's been great. And to be honest, it's the only thing I can find that makes any damn sense anymore. And it's all in that book. Everything we're seeing happening right now is in that book.
Is that how you started, just reading the Bible?
I did. I started trying to read it from front to back, and I wasn't really getting anywhere. And then
some shocking stuff in that Old Testament.
If
you go that way.
Yeah. And but then as it turns out, my entire team, I'm really close with my team, my podcast team, the guys that work for me and make it what it is. And turns out one guy was raised Southern Baptist, super well-versed in the Bible. My editor, Darren, grew up a Jehovah's Witness and escaped it,
yeah.
but knows that book from front to back. My IT guy, Adam, devout Catholic, knows it all, everything. Elijah, my production manager, he's the Southern Baptist guy. And they kind of started pouring into me. And a lot of my buddies that were in the SEAL teams, Eddie Penny really kind of paved the way for all of this, I think. Eddie Penny we were a team 2 together. And then he went on to Dev Group. And just not who you would expect to come to faith, but he was my Christmas episode a couple years ago. And ever since he came on and gave his testimony of how he came to, everybody that's been on the show has brought it up. And he became kind of a mentor of mine. So I called Eddie and told him, and I said, "Hey, this is what happened. I don't really know where to start. I don't really know what this means." And we had a conversation, and he was like, "Oh man," he's like, "a lot of us have been praying for this to happen."
Wow.
And that kind of freaked me out. I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, we've been waiting for this. He's like, you have a big voice, and this needs to happen. And so that was at about midnight. Now I'm getting into some other kind of weird synchronicity coincidences. And so about 12 hours later, I had a meeting that Adam, my IT guy, had scheduled with me at noon. And Eddie was telling me during the conversation, he was talking about guardian angels and all this other stuff that was spiritual warfare, stuff that I know like nothing about. Well, fast forward 12 hours, I'm talking to Adam. I didn't know what this meeting was. I thought it was about email marketing or something. And he wanted to talk to me about spiritual warfare and guardian angels.
Wow.
And I was like, it was literally like almost the exact same conversation as I had with Eddie Penny.
You're like, that's not on the drop-down menu
Yeah.
of message manager,
I know,
meeting manager.
you know, and they're not friends. I mean, Adam is, with all due respect,
They hadn't coordinated those two guys?
Eddie is built like a shit brick house, a dev group operator, and Adam is a IT computer nerd who I love to death. And so no, they don't, there's no cross-pollination. They're not friends. They've never spoken. Exact same conversation at noon. Come home for lunch from my studio to be with the wife and kids. And Adam, and anyways, I go back to work. I look at my clock in my truck, and it says it's 4:44. I look at the odometer. It says 444 miles left to E. And this is 4 hours and 44 minutes after my conversation with Adam about guardian angels. So I look up the meaning of 444, and it is, your guardian angels want you to know that they have got you. And I'm like, holy shit, man. Like, we just had 2 conversations about guardian angels, and now I'm seeing 444 everywhere within.
You saw Gabe.
Yeah, and it's, in the meaning of it, supposedly, according to Google, is your guardian angels want you to know that they've got you. And so I've been in it ever since, and I've had some great mentors and started going to church. That didn't last very long. And now we have a group of, there's 4 families, including us, a lot of trust, very close friends of ours, and we just have a discussion every week, every Tuesday. So when I get home today, that's what we're doing, and it's cool. You get to ask the tough questions. You don't need to be embarrassed. You're not going to offend anybody. You don't feel judged like you're going to church. I always feel like I'm being judged.
Oh, hello, we're Catholic.
Yeah.
Built in.
And there's none of that. And man, when you kind of take all of the BS that religion kind of injects into your journey of building a relationship with the Creator and Jesus, it's really interesting, and it can be a lot of fun.
I know what you're saying. My audience knows I've been having a not unrelated struggle on that exact score.
Really?
Yeah. I'm Catholic, lifelong Catholic, and I started the process of having my first marriage annulled. And instead of like bringing me closer to God or setting me in a path that I thought would land well, it really has kind of alienated me. And it's caused a bit of a crisis of faith, like, who are these middlemen I have to go through in order to have a clean relationship with God? That doesn't make any sense to me. I think God loves me, and God sees me in a loving marriage with 3 wonderful kids who have 2 great parents who are in love, and he's thrilled. And he will accept me into his kingdom when it's all said and done. And if he doesn't, it's certainly not going to be because I didn't get I got a paper divorce from him, but I didn't get an annulment from a priest, and then marry Doug in a Catholic church. It doesn't make any sense to me. So that's sort of where I am right now. I'm still wrestling with it. I got tons of great feedback. By the way, thank you to my audience, because so many thoughtful emails on it, from Catholic listeners, but also just Christian listeners who don't believe in that, middleman thing either. And I haven't resolved it.
Well, I'll keep my opinion to myself. But
Why?
The middleman is a lie. There are no middlemen. Mm-hmm. It's just about you and your relationship, and that's it. They'll let you know that. Mm-hmm. And when you think like that, I mean, it's it gives me a sense of peace, you know? And then you start looking at all the stuff that's going on, like Trans Visibility Day being declared on Easter Sunday. Like you can't tell me these aren't signs, you know? And this is all, like I said, this is all in there. I'm still reading through it. I'm not through it all yet. I don't claim to be an expert, but you know, I see things. I have a team to lean on who's well versed in this stuff.
That was very fortunate.
And it's everything we're seeing happen is in that book. And when you come to that realization, it's really odd, but all the stuff that was bothering me, and it still does bother me, but at the same time, it makes me stronger because that was supposed to happen.
Can your savings weather an economic storm? Think about what you've put away for the future. Inflation can render cash worthless. Real estate can crash like it did in '08. Economies built on a mountain of debt can fall like a house of cards. There are very few physical assets you can invest in that can stand the test of time. But gold has withstood as a valued form of money. It's why many people are flocking to it now and why Birch Gold is busier than ever. Through a little-known tax loophole, Birch Gold lets you convert a retirement account into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And the best part, it doesn't cost you 1 cent out of pocket. To learn more, text MK to 989898 and claim your free info kit on gold. Again, can your IRA or 401k weather an economic storm? If not, consider looking into Birch Gold. Just text MK to 989898 and explore securing your savings today. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.